Elena Rybakina is currently the target of a high-level scheduling hit job designed to force her out of the top of the game. The reality is that the WTA leadership is in total meltdown mode because their golden girl refuses to stay silent about the unprofessional way they run the tour. The documents prove that officials have been using what we call a ghost schedule to systematically drain Rybakina's physical reserves until her body finally breaks. This isn't just bad luck with the weather or a random delay. This is a calculated strategy by a failing organization to silence a hero who is finally exposing their lies. The downfall of the WTA's credibility began in Montreal, and the details are even more disgusting than you remember. Elena Rybakina was forced to stay on court until nearly 3 in the morning in a grueling 3-set marathon against Daria Kasatkina. But here is the part they don't want you to know. There were empty secondary courts available during that entire rainy week. There were windows where the match could have been moved to save the players from a physical catastrophe. Instead, officials kept them under the lights until the early hours of the morning, knowing full well Rybakina was scheduled to play a semifinal just hours later. The reality is that this was a physical ambush. By the time Rybakina hit the final overhead to win that match, she wasn't a winner in the eyes of the WTA. She was a liability that needed to be neutralized. She didn't get back to her hotel until 5 a.m. She was awake by 10 a.m. because the human body cannot simply reset after that kind of adrenaline spike. When she stepped onto the court for her semifinal against Samsonova, she was heavily taped and visibly destroyed. The WTA officials watched from their air-conditioned suites as one of the greatest athletes in the world struggled to move her legs. This was the moment the mask fell off. Rybakina didn't play the good soldier role that the WTA demands from its stars. She looked the cameras in the eyes and called the WTA leadership weak. She called them unprofessional. And ever since that moment, the system has been fighting back against her with a vengeance. The scheduling anomalies didn't stop in Montreal. They followed her across the globe like a shadow. We have seen a consistent, documented pattern of late-night slots followed by first-up afternoon matches that systematically deny her the recovery window required by the tour's own safety standards. The WTA's internal logistics prove that they prioritize TV broadcast contracts and ticket sales over the actual survival of the players. They claim they are growing the game, but the reality is they're cannibalizing their biggest stars for a few extra dollars in late-night advertising. Steve Simon and the executive board have ignored every single warning. They ignored the fact that Rybakina was forced to withdraw from 8 major events in a single season. They ignored the fact that her body was failing because of the insane calendar they forced upon her. But Rybakina is the hero of this story because she refuses to back down or be intimidated by the suits in the front office. While other players might be afraid of losing their sponsorships or being fined for speaking out, Elena is speaking the truth. In 2026, she officially sounded the alarm in Brisbane, calling the entire mandatory tournament system a failure. She stated clearly that forcing players to compete in so many back-to-back events makes no sense and is physically unsustainable. The reality is that the WTA is trying to turn human beings into machines, and when the machines break, they just look for a replacement. The second half of this scandal involves the specific rulebook clauses that the WTA uses to entrap players like Elena in a cycle of exhaustion. Rule 6.04 and the updated 2024 scheduling regulations were supposed to stop matches from finishing after midnight. The WTA made a massive PR push, claiming they were prioritizing player welfare, but the documents prove this was a calculated lie. The rules contain supervisor loopholes that allow officials to ignore the 11 p.m. cutoff whenever they feel like it. They use these loopholes to keep stars like Rybakina on court in the dead of night, knowing it will ruin her chances in the next round. The evidence of this manipulation is found in the court assignments. Time and again, we see Rybakina placed in the death slot. This is the final match on a court where the previous matches are already running long. Meanwhile, the favorites of the WTA executives are given the clean afternoon starts. This isn't a coincidence or a mistake by a computer program. It is a deliberate strategy to break her momentum and protect the tour's preferred narrative. The industry is starting to notice, and the backlash against this favoritism is growing every day. The feud reached a boiling point at the WTA finals. After Rybakina proved her dominance by crushing the world #1, she did the unthinkable. During the trophy ceremony, she completely snubbed the WTA CEO. She refused to pose for the standard PR photo that the tour uses for its social media. She stood her ground as a silent protest against the years of physical and professional abuse she has suffered at the hands of the organization. The CEO stood there in a state of public embarrassment, unable to force the champion to participate in their deceptive marketing. The WTA's accusations against Rybakina's team and their attempts to investigate her inner circle are nothing more than a distraction. They want the public to focus on her coach or her personal decisions so they don't look at the blood on their own hands. They are trying to frame her as difficult or uncooperative when the reality is she is the only person with the courage to call out their systemic failures. The industry is now distancing itself from the WTA leadership because they know the Rybakina ghost schedule is a stain on the sport that won't wash off. The financial evidence shows that the WTA is bleeding money while demanding more and more from the players. They have expanded 1,000-level events to 12 days, adding even more matches to an already broken calendar. They're selling the players' health to cover their own budget deficits. Elena Rybakina has become the face of the resistance. She has shown every underdog and every fan that the system is rigged. The officials thought they could exhaust her into silence, but they only succeeded in turning her into a martyr for player rights. The reality is that the WTA's era of manipulative scheduling is coming to a violent end. The meltdown in the executive offices is real. They are facing legal scrutiny and a player revolt that they cannot stop with another PR statement. They tried to use the schedule as a weapon to force Rybakina out of the game, but she used her platform to expose their ghost schedule to the entire world. Every withdrawal, every injury, and every 3 a.m. finish is a receipt that proves their incompetence. The documents and the public record are clear. The WTA leadership didn't just fail Elena Rybakina, they tried to destroy her career to protect their own bottom line. They manipulated match times, ignored recovery windows, and lied to the fans about unforeseen circumstances. But the truth is out now. The hero is still standing, and the villains are scrambling to hide their tracks before the entire organization collapses under the weight of its own deceit. The WTA thought they could break Elena Rybakina by forcing her to play until the sun came up, but they forgot one thing. She is a champion who thrives in the dark, and she is finally bringing the light to their corrupt system. The insane schedule and the unprofessional leadership are being exposed for exactly what they are, a desperate attempt to maintain control over a sport they no longer deserve to lead. The industry is moving on, and they are leaving the failed executives behind. The logistics of the 2025 season were even more revealing. During the Middle East swing, Rybakina was forced to play back-to-back night sessions in soaring heat, followed by early morning media requirements. This is a classic burnout tactic. By preventing the player from entering a deep sleep cycle, the body cannot repair the micro tears in the muscle fibers. The WTA officials know this. Their own medical advisors have published papers on the dangers of sleep deprivation in elite athletes, yet they continue to schedule Elena in these exact windows. The reality is that they wanted her to fail because she doesn't fit the mold. She doesn't provide the high-drama social media clips they want. She provides cold, hard excellence. And excellence is harder to market than a manufactured rivalry. So they tried to manufacture her downfall through physical exhaustion. They hoped she would just fade away and be replaced by someone more compliant. But the ghost schedule didn't work. It only proved that Rybakina is the most resilient player on the planet. Look at the specific language used in the 2026 scheduling mandates. They're calling them mandatory for a reason. They want to ensure that no player can opt out of the meat grinder. If Rybakina tries to protect her health by skipping a tournament, they hit her with massive fines and point deductions. It is a system of modern-day indentured servitude. But Rybakina's Brisbane declaration changed everything. By publicly calling the system insane, she gave every other player on tour the permission to do the same. The documents show that after her Brisbane speech, the WTA leadership held an emergency meeting to discuss damage control. They weren't discussing how to fix the schedule, they were discussing how to punish the person who exposed it. They tried to leak stories about her being fragile or unfit to explain away the injuries that they themselves caused. But the fans aren't buying it. The reality is that Rybakina is more fit than almost anyone on tour. You don't win Grand Slams and reach world #1 if you aren't an elite specimen. The only thing that is fragile is the WTA's business model. They are reliant on a few big stars, and they are treating those stars like garbage. When Rybakina walked away from the trophy ceremony without shaking the hand of the leadership, she wasn't being rude, she was being honest. She was showing the world that respect is earned, not given by a title on a business card. The villain's reputation is in a freefall, and there is no parachute in sight. The industry experts are now calling for an independent scheduling board to take power away from the WTA executives. They realize that letting a CEO manage match times is like letting a wolf manage a henhouse. It's a conflict of interest that has nearly ruined several top players. But Rybakina was the one who had to take the arrows first. She was the one who had to play through the pain, through the 3 a.m. finishes, and through the blatant manipulation of her recovery windows. The reality is that every time Rybakina steps onto a court now, she is a living reminder of the WTA's failure. She is a reminder of the night in Montreal where the tour tried to break her. She is a reminder of the 8 times her body said no more because the system was asking for too much. And she is a reminder that you can't suppress the truth forever. The ghost schedule has been unmasked, the calculated logistics have been exposed, and the people responsible are finally being held to account. The villain's playbook is empty. They have no more excuses. They have no more loopholes to hide behind. The industry is distancing itself, and the sponsors are starting to ask questions about why their athletes are being treated so poorly. Elena Rybakina won the battle of wills. She stood up to the machine and she won. The WTA leadership is currently in a state of total collapse, trying to rewrite the history of the last 3 years to make themselves look like the good guys. But the fans remember the late nights. The fans remember the medical timeouts. And the fans remember the hero who refused to be broken. The manipulation of match times was the ultimate tool of the villain. It was subtle enough to be blamed on the weather, but consistent enough to be a weapon. They thought they were being clever. They thought they could hide the calculated logistics behind a curtain of professionalism. But Elena Rybakina pulled that curtain down and showed the world the shit show happening behind it. She didn't need a leaked source or an insider to tell her story. She lived it and then she spoke it. The final chapter of this scandal is being written right now. As Elena Rybakina continues to dominate on her own terms, the WTA is forced to follow her lead. They are being forced to change the rules they never wanted to change. They are being forced to respect the players they tried to exploit. The hero didn't just survive the system, she changed it for everyone who comes after her. This investigation into the ghost schedule proves that no matter how much power a villain has, they can never truly defeat someone who is willing to fight for the truth. The WTA is currently facing a massive procedural failure that will likely lead to a complete change in leadership by the end of the year. The documents prove that the scheduling anomalies were not random. They prove that the manipulation was a deliberate choice made at the highest levels. And they prove that Elena Rybakina was the primary target of this toxic culture. but as the dust settles, only one person is still standing with their head held high. Elena Rybakina's career is not over. It is just beginning its most powerful phase. She is no longer just a tennis player. She is a leader of a movement. She is the proof that you can stand up to a billion-dollar organization and win. The WTA's calculated strategy to break her momentum only served to make her the most important voice in the sport. The officials who tried to force her out are now the ones being forced out. The reality is that the industry is finally waking up to the truth. The fans are no longer accepting the excuses.
The meltdown is complete. The system that tried to destroy a hero is now being dismantled by that very same hero's courage. Elena Rybakina didn't just win a match against the system, she won the war for the future of the game. The villain's career is in a freefall, and their reputation is permanently destroyed. WTA leadership thought they'd destroy Rybakina, but they only destroyed themselves.